All right, we are live, CJ and Brendon. Welcome to our Humanity Hub stream. And Brendon Bigley is joining us today. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me here. This is such an honor to be on the Humanity live stream. This is so fun.
And suddenly, I think your video
Yeah, I think your
crazy.
webcam went out at a crazy moment there. Of course, right when the stream starts, but
naturally,
yeah. Brendon is in the void.
I'll switch. I'm in the Aether, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
There we go. I don't think I've ever seen that.
I actually didn't do anything. I didn't change anything at all.
Yeah.
I was bringing up settings to change, and then
you didn't give it like the Fonzie slap or anything like that.
No. Let me here's what I'll do. I'll just switch to a different camera, and then maybe we'll be good.
Nice.
Did that work, or did that make it worse?
I think that worked. Maybe.
No camera right now, but
no camera. Okay.
We'll be patient.
Well,
here.
I can see Brendon on the Discord call.
Yeah,
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Well,
technical difficulties.
Maybe we should go back to the original camera if possible. But
yeah, I just switched back. Still not working.
Interesting.
Say lovey. I'll just be a little tiny headshot.
There we go.
Yeah, we have mini Brendon here in our webcam, but yeah,
Maybe
feel free to play around with it. But
Chibi Brendon. Yes. All right. Well, while Austin is fiddling around with that, I'll ask you about Into the Aether. So this is your podcast. It's a low-key video game podcast.
Yes.
You and your co-host Steven talk about video games every week, what you're playing, and you have the show divided up into seasons. So you usually start with like a monster-size episode.
Yeah.
Covering one topic. But yeah, why don't you tell us all about Into the Aether?
Yeah, sure. So Into the Aether, we pitch it and bill it as a low-key video game podcast. The reason we decided to go that route was specifically like we're never really covering the news, which I feel like is kind of a staple of most video game podcasts I was listening to. I've been a person who's interested in podcasts since, when Steve Jobs got on stage and said podcasts at an Apple event. I feel like news was always the thing that was covered, and then the other thing was always just the newest, latest games, which I'm always interested in. Don't get me wrong, I love the new stuff. Here we are talking about a 2023 release, for example. But that said, I found that kind of format always kind of lent itself to, whether the hosts or producers wanted it or not, segments where you would end up just like dunking on the news, talking very negatively about video games, because you're kind of forced or pigeonholed into a space where you have to talk about like the new thing, and that's the expectation from the audience. And that just creates this kind of feedback loop of negativity. And I was just kind of getting sick of that, honestly, personally. And that's not to disparage any other show that's doing that. Like, I think obviously criticism is very important. If a new game comes out and it is bad for some reason, you're like also helping people, I think, financially by telling them that. But I just didn't want to add to that personally, and I know Steven didn't want to add to that either. And he and I went through kind of a long phase early on when we just decided kind of, let's make a video game podcast. Like, that was kind of the beginning. We didn't have this really in mind at all. But we just kept recording test episodes over and over again, and there were a couple that like had to do with the news, and there were a couple that had to do with the newest, latest releases. And over time, we realized that the thing that we liked talking about the most is literally just whatever we were interested in playing at the time, which sounds so simple, I think, and sounds kind of like nothing. But the more we started doing it, the more we started to realize that the more of the past you engage with, the more it will inform the future and the present. And I think we've struck this nice balance between always just following our interests. So, playing a new farm sim, for example, might send us back into playing ones that existed on the Nintendo DS and prior to that, and vice versa, which I think allows for a kind of more like well-rounded experience. So when we say low-key, what we're really saying is like, we're not here to dunk on games. We only bring them to the show if we like them or have something good to say about them. And I guess the asterisk there is like, that doesn't mean that our show is devoid of criticism. We very frequently will talk about things that we don't like in games, but we try to make sure that, on the whole, we're bringing more positivity than negativity to the video game space and landscape online.
That's great. I see in the chat your editor AJ already here. Thing you like talking about the most was the Elder Scrolls Oblivion.
Yeah, when we first launched, the show's description was Steven and Brendon try to not talk about the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. That was our original pitch for the show, which honestly is still true. We just removed that for marketing reasons. But yeah, I don't know. Going way back to like high school when Steven and I first met, Oblivion was really the thing that we both connected on. Steven's a couple years older than me, so we always described as two ships passing in the night in terms of our like friendship and our collaboration together. We always wanted to work together on something and could never really find the right time until this show came along. We both wrote for another site a couple years ago, but even then, like, he was there for a couple months, and then the site stopped existing, and then that was it. So when the time came.
Now, how do you decide on what you're going to do for each season? So you did like 3DS, you did Dreamcast. Like, how do you decide that sort of big topic that you're going to kick off with?
Yeah, the first time we did that was for the Game Boy Advance. So initially, our season openers were just covering E3, and then obviously E3 went away. Like, we did E3 in 2018, and then the next year E3 was like on the rocks. So we needed to pivot pretty quickly. And the first year we ended up doing it, I think was 2020's was the Game Boy Advance. And that was really just because, A, we thought it would be cool to play an entire systems library, like to take a console and say, let's look at this whole thing holistically. Because it feels weirdly like everything that we're trying to do with the show and with the podcast kind of melded into one idea in one episode. It feels really celebratory of the past to say, like, okay, let's play all this stuff, see what still holds up, see what, you know, was incredible then, if it's still incredible now, et cetera, see if our tastes have changed even since we, you know, played the Game Boy Advance when we were younger, et cetera. And the Game Boy Advance was one that just felt like the right time when we picked it. And it was when we also picked it, it was really easy to like get a Game Boy Advance, and the used game library online like wasn't that bad if you wanted to buy used copies of things.
Right.
And we did that one totally in secret. And for the entire year that we were playing the whole systems library was when the retro game market like really skyrocketed in price. So by the time we announced that the Game Boy Advance was going to be the episode, was like, oh, sorry, if you want a copy of, I don't know, Super Mario Advance 2, you're going to have to pay, you know, an arm and a leg for it, which is such a bummer. But really, it's just been kind of considerations of what are we excited about, what do we want to be playing, you know, which is again the tenet of the show. And then on the flip side of that is, what do we think our listeners would enjoy playing? You know, would our listeners enjoy going back and getting a Nintendo DS and playing through the DS library again and revisiting that stuff? For the Dreamcast, for us, it was mainly a like point of almost ignorance. Like, neither of us knew enough about the Dreamcast. We just had no idea what was going on with that console. It was kind of, you know, it's kind of Fable adjacent to, I think, a lot of people, rightfully. And we just wanted to fill in that mental gap, I think, that we had in terms of like video game history and the landscape of games, and the industry. So that was pretty cool. And then the 3DS also, that one we did for our patrons, and that was specifically because the eShop was closing down and you were not going to be able to buy games digitally on the eShop anymore. Which as of this morning, I think like late in the wee hours of the morning, Nintendo announced that they're shutting down online capabilities for the 3DS and the Wii U entirely.
Such a shame.
April. Yeah. I would say one of the big tenets of the show, or at least the thing we bring up at least once an episode, whether we want to or not, is just this idea of game preservation. And I think having a big holistic view of the Nintendo 3DS and its library and like the best games to pick up, specifically the ones that were digital only before that eShop closed, was really important to us to be like, hey, these are the games that like we really think you know, kind of molded that system or molded a lot of the way the industry is going right now, or even just in general were like interesting and cool. The one I always think about is Attack of the Friday Monsters, by the
great game.
They made Boku no Natsuyasumi, which like just such a special little game. Digital only, and unfortunately is like no longer going to be available to anybody unless you find some other way to get it.
3DS.
We can always hope for the Switch remake on that.
Yeah.
But for your Dreamcast episode, I was, while I was listening, it was interesting because neither of you had actually played the Dreamcast when it was an active product.
Yeah.
But nowadays you always hear it feels like a Dreamcast game, but you weren't sure like exactly what that meant. And so part of this sort of quest that you and Steven went on was like to find out like what is that? What is the pure Dreamcast game? So I thought that was great. Even as somebody who lived through the Dreamcast era, had a Dreamcast, played it a lot.
Yeah.
It was really interesting to hear it from the perspective of somebody coming to the system for the first time in 2023. I thought it was great.
The Dreamcast is such an amazing thing. I would have a hard time, I think, in 2023 recommending that people go pick one up and have the same experience that we just had, but it is one that I think is going to be very near and dear to my heart forever, because there are some games on there that I just will never stop thinking about ever again. I mean, like, it's almost a goof at this point, but Seaman is like, just like, how does that game get made? How does anything like that ever get made? And I mean, in the vein of humanity, Rez is like now one of my favorite games of all time. Finally, having played that, I find that there's some media that I refuse to engage with unless I engage with it the right way. Like I just saw 2001: A Space Odyssey in theaters. That was my first time ever seeing 2001: A Space Odyssey, because I had set a rule for myself at some point when I was in film school. I was like, I will only watch this movie if I can see it in a movie theater. And Rez was another one of those games where it's like, I really just want to play the original on a Dreamcast. I don't know why that was in my head forever. So it was nice to be able to do that finally, and have a semi-religious experience doing that.
Right. Yeah, and I want to thank you so much for talking about Rez so much during that Dreamcast episode, because obviously Rez is an enhanced game, so a little bit biased here, but yeah.
But yeah, the experience of playing the Dreamcast stuff was just spectacular. I mean, I don't think that system. I mean, that system is talked about a lot, but I don't think it gets maybe enough credit for the amount of seeds that it planted for where we're at currently. I just think you can play a lot of those games. The one that always comes to mind for me, not one that I super connected with, but you play it for like 5 minutes and you're just like, oh, you can kind of see the future in front of your very eyes, is Legacy of Kain. It's like, oh, okay, here's your Uncharted, here's your Last of Us, here's the entire slate of Sony first party, AAA, PlayStation Studios stuff. Like that all started right here with Legacy of Kain. Obviously, Legacy of Kain is inspired by a bunch of stuff, but that game to me was like, oh, they almost got it. Like they're so close, and that's what's so fun about the Dreamcast, is there are so many huge swings that people took with that system, where it's like you almost nailed it.
This close.
And I love that. That's the best stuff, right? The best stuff is the stuff like I think there was just an article recently that was like in defense of the 7 out of 10 game, and I so believe that. I'm such a staunch believer in like, just give some creative people the budget they need to see their vision through, and that's always made more exciting to me.
That seems like the disappearance of AA games. Like we have your huge AAA Assassin's Creed and your Watch Dogs and Call of Duty, but then like the AA's have kind of been disappearing over the last few years, and it's rare that we get ones that really hit with anybody, right?
Yeah, we're in a really weird spot. I feel like the one that just clicked with me recently was Remnant 2. It's like one of those games on the list for me this year that I just think is so special. That's another one that just keeps swinging for the fences over and over and over again. Just every single level that you stumble across, every system that they have in there is like so weird and obvious in terms of its inspirations, but just has like a really unique voice behind it. The
good thing about that game is that it's done by a small enough publisher that even the success that it has had will mean that we'll get support for that game going forward. We'll get a Remnant 3 down the line, right? If that was an Ubisoft game or an EA game, probably wouldn't have the same.
Yeah, who knows?
It would be too small for them, right? But you have publishers where that's perfect, where that works.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I feel like we just saw that. I mean, maybe not AA, but it's AAA. But we just saw that with Immortals of Avium, right? Like that game came out again, a huge swing, big new IP. Honestly, I think there's a lot to love about that game. I had a really fun time with it, and it just like didn't pan out for EA, which is sad, you know, because I think they put a lot of time and effort into world building there.
Such a crazy year for game content. Like even Remnant 2, you're talking about loving Remnant 2. When Game of the Year comes up, is Remnant 2 going to be on that short list? Even out of 5 games, like, where does Remnant 2 go in there?
It'll be in mine. I'll say
it'll be in yours.
I don't mind giving that away to the listeners and viewers out there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm having a hard enough time. Like right now, I have a top 30 that I'm working with this year, and I'm having a hard enough time putting a top 30 together, which is wild.
So many good games right now.
Yeah,
so many. Well, let's shift our conversation to one of those games that came out this year, Humanity from Enhance. PS5, PS4, and PC game, and I know that you talked a bit about it on Into the Aether, and so I know you've been playing the story mode. Usually on these streams, we hop on into a story mode stage maybe that resonated with you, or a section of the game that you really liked.
Sure. Yeah. We were talking about it a little bit before we hit live, but I'm just a big fan of this Fate section. This is the third chapter or set of trials from the game, and I would say the big switch here, if you haven't played Humanity, if you're just tuning into this stream, if you haven't played Humanity, is you're this little Shiba Inu, you're running around and you're commanding a large group of people to those big glowing squares. And usually this is all happening in real time, but what happens with the Fate section is time is frozen, and you need to place all of your directions on the ground, and then you hit that power button to hit go. So you need to very carefully kind of walk through step by step exactly what you think is going to happen in terms of the large crowd of people to get them to the end point, because once you hit go, you can't place anything else. So you just need to watch it until it goes all the way to the end and hope that you got it right. And to me, this is like Tell me what was going on behind the scenes, because to me, I played this part and I was like, this is just a flex. You guys are like really just like, the game was already great, and then you're like, oh, what if it was just a completely different video game for a couple minutes? Like, what if it was a completely different design sensibility? And I love it. Like this bit really blew me away, and this is when it became one of my favorite games I played this year. Like pretty immediately.
I think a lot of people, when they start playing Humanity, you can get a little bit stressed that, oh, I have to do this in real time. The people are moving. I have to juggle all these things, and it kind of becomes like, oh, I'm so stressed out. I don't want people to die. And then you play this this section, and you're like, oh, like I think in some players in the beginning stages, they're like, I wish I had that time to plan first.
Yes.
And so then they reach this chapter 3, sequence 3. And they get that becomes a mechanic in the game, and it's like, oh, okay, now I can slow down and be really strategic of where I'm sending the humans.
Yeah, right.
It's like a nice sort of upending of the mechanics of the game.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. The point specifically about not wanting to send people over the edge and tumble into the abyss. Because I think that's one of the first big shocks of the game for me, is like right when you boot it up the first time, when you're like, okay, let me get my bearings, I'm going to run around with this little dog, and it's going to be so cute, and you start to notice that the people are tumbling off the edge. You're like, oh, am I losing? And you have this moment where it's like, is this the fail state? Did I get to this point? And I think as soon as you realize that that's not the case, is when, at least for me, is when I started engaging with, okay, like what is this game trying to say? Like this game is clearly about something, and this idea that you can send a bunch of people tumbling off the edge, I think, raise some questions that I think are answered. I think that was one of the things I remember talking about on the show when I first brought it to the show. But like, I just think that this game is so fascinating in the ways that it decides to kind of, with narrative, like actual dialogue, but also wordlessly just have a lot going on thematically. I really connected with it. I thought it was really fantastic.
Let's dig into the wordless part here, because I agree. Like it's the story is kind of open to interpretation in a lot of ways, but I'm curious, like what sort of wordless prompts or ideas are you picking up on here?
Yeah, I think just going right back to people tumbling off the edge. I mean, there's and even just the idea of this endless stream of people coming out of this glowing white door. It is this idea of just once you start thinking about the idea of humanity in terms of like infinite timelines, there is going to be this sense of, I think, progress and failure that will always come up no matter what we're tackling as like a species on the planet or off the planet, even hypothetically. And I think that's such a beautiful way of visualizing that as just, the unrelenting, I would say, ambition of the human race, I think is like a really fascinating topic to tackle in any kind of media. And I don't know if it's a thing that games are tackling always. And I also don't think it's a thing that in any media is being tackled with a huge sense of optimism. I find frequently when you're dealing with this kind of subject matter in particular, you're coming at it from the perspective of like, well, isn't it maybe bad that humans like want to reach the stars and do X, Y, and Z thing? And I think there's a lot of hope in this game, which again was another thing that I kind of connect with as somebody who considers themselves to be mostly optimistic. I mean, we have a show that's about positivity, So the game really connected with me on that front. But I think even in the sense of the like battle sequences that you get into further in the game, there's very specific dialogue call-outs to the idea of the others and the war that is happening between them, and like they become more aggressive over time. But I think just generally speaking, on the whole, there is this sense that like this is a little stumble. This is a trip. A hop, skip, and a jump before enlightenment or something beyond this moment. It almost has a like Star Trek Federation situation to me. I think this idea that like this is just a really negative, obviously negative blip in the long timeline of these millions of people flowing all over the place. I love the big head mode you have on, by the way.
Yeah, I have.
Do you have the randomizer on?
I do have the randomizer on, so it makes it refreshing to play through.
The randomizer is the best. The only one that always gets me is the one that's just like orbs. It's like I forget what that one is called. It's just like the blobs.
Spheres.
Yeah, I think it's just called Spheres. Yeah, that's my go-to avatar for the user stages.
Yeah, that one is so funny. Yeah.
What do you think about the conflict in the game as it pertains to the others and also the machines?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, I find that to be kind of just repeating what I said before. I kind of found it to be the way the game tackles it in my eyes was this is a necessary and unfortunate step. I think almost like you would let a child like touch the hot pan in a way to learn not to do that again in the future. There is this sense, in my eyes at least, that a lot of the conflict in this game comes from the perspective of like this unfortunately needs to happen, and when it's over, humanity as a whole will be better for it. And I find that at least to be kind of the case throughout the entirety of the experience. At least that was a lot of my takeaway from it, and I'm curious how you guys feel about that. But I think a lot of the game is kind of pointing at that idea and saying, you're gonna fail a lot. And I think that's one of the things I've been really connecting with in terms of some of the puzzle games that have come out this year. Humanity, in my eyes, is a really good pairing with, I don't know if either of you played Viewfinder.
Oh yeah.
Viewfinder, I find, is a very kind of similar, or is going after a similar topic. And I think both come at it from a really interesting way, where the idea of failure in those puzzles is another way of reinforcing the idea that, continuing to push and continuing to be relentless in your ambition to become better and become greater and find some kind of truth is essentially going to pay off one day, and will become will be all worth it in the end, hypothetically. And varying degrees of thought, I think, there in terms of worth it or not. I think when you send 100,000 people tumbling off the edge of a large cube, maybe it doesn't feel worth it. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the story, it's interesting that this game hit in 2023 and that the story also like introduces sort of the concept of AI, and at least in what you're being told, like the human race initially was decimated, is gone, and you're helping to rebuild by leading the people through these trials. And to me, some of the story bits can be interpreted as hopelessness also, right? But then there's also this hopeful vibe, and then there's also like a bit of spirituality in there as well.
Yeah.
Like, I think some of the language in the game could be seen as very like akin to religious wording, but not used in that religious context, right? Like,
right.
There's not a direct reference to any of that stuff in particular, but it's there if you want to like read that into it. That's what you want to take away from it, and that's one of the things that I kind of really enjoy about the story. Like talking about it with somebody else, they can have a totally different read, or they could have gotten something totally different out of it. And that's, I think, one of the most interesting aspects of this game is that we as humans take what is being told in the game and kind of make it our own in our own way.
Yeah, I think the religious tones of the game definitely land. At least as somebody who was raised Catholic, at least like going to church a lot, like a lot of that stuff hit for me, and I started to ask this question the more of it I played. It was like, what is the other read of this? Like, what is the kind of overarching theme, just about the nature of human progress, and I love that it can be interpreted both ways. And I love one of the questions I was curious to ask hypothetically is like, how much of that was set in stone during development, or was making a good puzzle game the priority, and then like, oh wait, this is actually before you've even written any dialogue or added any of that stuff, like, oh, this is accidentally a metaphor for X, Y, or Z thing.
I think the bones of the story were always there through development, but there were aspects of the story that did change, and it was sectioned off in these chapters, and it was about the development of new humans and like rebuilding humanity through these puzzles. But the story itself didn't get like the final spit shine until pretty late in development. Like the actual telling of the story changed quite a bit over time.
That's cool. That's very interesting. I that's one of the things I'm always curious about with these kinds of games, is how much of that story and game design is interwoven, because I think it really could go one of both ways. You're just experimenting with like some cool mechanics and end up finding accidentally like, oh yeah, this means this, and I didn't even realize it. You're kind of like dredging your own subconscious in your design work. I loved this one, the introduction of the others here, when they steal your Goldie from you.
And then they walk away in the door, and you don't
they
have
just
the
bail.
Goldie.
Yeah. This one also made me. I remembering playing this one for the first time. I loved this one specifically because you think you got it. You're like, oh, okay. So I just need to go over, the hump again, and of course you don't, because they come out of. Well, if you still have your Goldie with you, they come out of the other door again, and then steal them a second time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think this game is so fantastic. The introduction of weaponry also. It's like such a shocking, horrifying moment in the game. But I think one of the things that really sticks with me is, we're talking about a lot of heady stuff, obviously, in terms of what this game like could mean and does mean, and et cetera, et cetera. Like, I'm not going to ask you to definitively explain the ending or whatever. But I think one of the things that really stuck with me is the levity of it all. I think there is a tendency with this kind of thing to be like, okay, like almost vegetable adjacent. It's like, okay, you gotta just take in this like kind of heavy story about these heavy themes, But at the end of the day, you are playing as a glowing Shiba Inu, you know, kind of stumbling around and having, you know, these giant swarms of characters with big head mode on and et cetera, like tumbling off the edge, and, you know, the incredible music. I mean, this is, I would argue, my favorite video game soundtrack of the year. I
Really?
listen to it all the time. Yeah, I just think it's exceptional. It's like so close to the kind of music I wish I could make also, that I'm like just so impressed by it whenever I'm listening to it. But anyway, I think all of that kind of coalesces in a game that I think obviously takes its subject matter very seriously, but is not afraid to have a lot of fun with it and ask you to have a lot of fun with it. Because it could have so easily been dour, especially once you get into the like battle sequences, you know. And even the introduction of the others here is like kind of silly in some ways.
Yeah, I think if the main character was a human or like not a dog, I think tone completely changes, right?
Yeah.
Like it becomes a very serious game. And
Which they
you
weren't
know,
a
a lot
dog,
of the
right, at one
environments. It was a human at one point, yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing
development.
that in another interview at one point.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we still get
where did the dog
requests.
come from?
Sometimes people don't want to be the dog; they want it to just be a cursor, and it's like, well,
Ooh.
but then you can't do the platforming. Like, there are mechanics in the game that aren't just moving the dog as a cursor, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this level too. This is so good. This is when you start to feel really bad.
Yeah, are we the baddies at this point while
Are we the
blow the
baddies?
others off
Yeah,
the
yeah.
side here?
A lot of
Yeah.
Are We the Baddies moments, like when they take up arms later, it's like, I get it. I mean, I hit you with a big windmill. It's understandable why you'd be upset about that.
That's right.
And we're trying to keep the goldies to ourselves. So are we really, you know, are we doing anybody a favor here?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, you wake up and you're told to do this, but is what you're being told right?
Dude,
You know,
do you like
like-
hurting other people? Et cetera?
Blowing them off of ledges with fans. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, you got this one. This is how you do it. Wow.
This level used to be a lot harder than the production version. Like there were no trees at the end of this
Oh,
thing.
really?
And of course, the trees stop you from pushing these pushable blocks over. So it was very easy initially to like not stop the people and just have them
Just
push
goof it.
pushable blocks right off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Then of course the retry keep commands
yeah.
option was not introduced until quite late in development, and you'd have to redo everything from scratch each time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, that would have killed me in some of the later ones.
Yeah, that
what's the one
changed
I'm thinking of?
everything.
The I think it's the green. I think it's the final level in this section, the green core. This one. Man, I had to retry that one so many times. And that was a lot of retry keep commands, and then being like, oh, wait, was I supposed to put a branch here? Was I supposed to put a normal arrow here? Was there a branch here at one point? And I deleted it. Like, that one really got me. Yeah, there it is.
Green
Wow.
core.
Green core. Yeah, this one had changed quite a bit during development too, and became more of a people flow issue, and using the others or using your people to overpower the others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh man. Just this visual of soaring around kind of like a school of fish.
Mm-hmm.
So beautiful.
Yeah, and I think Yuko Nakamura, who is the original creator of the game, said he was inspired by flocks of birds. Like a scene like this is exactly the inspiration for the whole game right here.
So cool. Yeah, it's really gorgeous.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel like when I remember first seeing the reveal of this game at some event somewhere, and just having this moment that was like, we've finally gone from that one PS3 tech demo to a video game that makes that tech demo worth it. That's so in the weeds. Old PS3 tech demo where there were just tons and tons and tons of bouncing balls going down, kind of like a San Francisco-esque
Oh yeah.
hill. That was like, look at the power of this system. And I feel like I've just been waiting for a game to make use of that kind of level of crowds and physics, etc. And here we are.
Yeah. And in many ways, this feels like something plucked out of the PS3 or Dreamcast era in a lot of ways too.
Totally. Yeah. We were. I think it was a little bit early. It was a little bit before we started playing all the Dreamcast stuff. Because that was the thing about the Dreamcast episode was, for the Game Boy Advance one and the DS one, we gave ourselves an entire year to play all those games. And for the Dreamcast, because that library is so much smaller than the other two, it's very easy and very quick to go through a lot of those games, especially considering so many of them are like just arcade specific. So it's like, you play some of them for 30 minutes and you're like, I know if that's going to be on the list or not, and you keep going back to them every once in a while and like see if you can beat your own score. But for the most part, you're not playing, a ton of, like on the DS, there are just so many 100-hour RPGs. There's like 5 Dragon Quest games on there, for example. But we hadn't started playing the Dreamcast stuff yet. But now that I've played all that stuff on the Dreamcast and Rez in particular, going back and playing Humanity for the past couple of days after I got back from my trip, it's been like, oh yeah, this really does feel like a Dreamcast era experience.
Yeah, I want to ask you a little bit about the Japan trip because as we were kind of scheduling this, you said that it had been like a dream of yours for a long time, and now having been there and come back, like, what was the most surprising thing? Did you have something like in your mind that you were particularly excited to see, and was there any like surprise that you weren't expecting?
Yeah, all the bathrooms are clean.
Very different from America, right?
Yeah, I live in New York City. I live in the Big Apple, and you are not going to find a public bathroom that is clean, if you find a public bathroom at all. No, I mean that trip was remarkable. I mean there was so much stuff. Even now, like it's been, I guess, 2 weeks just about since I got back, and I feel like I'm just getting over the jet lag now, which I think tracks, right? Because they say an hour for every day, or a day for every hour that you were shifted. And I was there for 2 weeks, so I got used to it, and then I flew back, so that's fun. But even now, when people ask me how it was, I'm like, that wasn't a weird dream I had. Like I actually went and did that.
You were really there?
Yeah. But yeah, it had been a wish of mine for a really long time, and I when we were planning it, because we went with some friends, we had a couple calls that were like, okay, what does everybody want to do? And I feel like everybody had a lot of things that they want to do, and I was like, I don't even have a lit, like I don't have a thing I want to accomplish while I'm there. I don't have anything that I really want to do. I just want to be there and exist. Because whenever I travel to other countries in particular, I always try to have as much time just kind of existing there as I possibly can. I went to Paris for the first time. There was another, like, my 2 bucket list places were Paris and Japan. In both cases, I was like, I just want some time to like sit at a cafe and just like hang out and people watch for a while, just kind of get the lay of the land and watch people like live their daily lives in a different place than where I'm used to. And it's really beautiful to do that, honestly. I had a really wonderful time. But I mean, outside of that, I think just like obviously all the food is amazing. Tokyo, I think specifically, is just like such a remarkable place to be, especially coming from New York City, where it's like, this is a huge city. This is a bigger city than a lot of people will ever see in their entire lives, and it can be daunting and wild. And people travel here so they can see, a big city. And then you go to a place like Tokyo, which has, I think, it's either 3, I can't remember. It's either 3 or 7 times the number of people that New York has. And there's the verticality of the city as well. Like every place has, 4 or 5 establishments stacked on top of one another before they become an office building. So when you're like going to look for a place, it might be on the 4th floor of this building. And just the sheer number of people. And I think the shocking thing amidst all of that was the like almost complete lack of cars in the city. Like just nobody's driving around. And it's because the public transportation is so exceptional, right? Like the subway is always on time. It is just like honestly it's a great place to be a person who likes walking, because you can very easily get around without a car. Yeah,
Now we
I
could
love
hop into the user stages here,
Sure.
because there is a stage in the playlist that we made for you called Shibuya Crossing, and I don't know if you were able to experience Shibuya for yourself. And did you go
Yes.
to the crossing? Did you hang out in a Starbucks that's on that second floor? And like people, that's a really good place, by the way. If you go back, and if you didn't do this already, Starbucks above Shibuya Crossing is excellent people watching.
Yeah, it's like a 2-floor Starbucks situation. I remember I was on the ground and I watched a bunch of people sitting there, just kind of people watching, which I really loved. Yeah, I went there. I was there a couple times. We were staying in Shinjuku for the most part, but went to Shibuya for a couple of the days because there were some places we wanted to check out over there. And it's funny because I feel like, my office, the office that I work in for my day job, is pretty close to Times Square, so I'm in Times Square like a lot, and I frequently see people walk in and they have like a couple different reactions, but usually it's like they walk in, they're like, oh my god, I'm in Times Square, and then they look around, they see it's all ads, and they're like, oh, maybe we should go somewhere else. I always feel bad when I see like groups of families and it's like the teenagers who are like over it, who are like, why are we here, and you go to Shibuya Crossing. And I think one of the things that's so interesting about that is it's so walkable and it's so made for being a transitory space and not a space you're supposed to hang out in. Like Times Square, I think, has this allure as like a place where you can go and hang out for a while, and like you really shouldn't, because it's all like tourist traps and people trying to take your money in various weird like grifts and cons. But you go to Shibuya Crossing and it's just people like actually going places, and you can stand there and watch for a while, and like that's cool. But it was fun to just kind of be a part of that every once in a while. Like there was one experience. I remember we were leaving this bar late at night. We went to like a record bar. We were wandering back to the subway station and going through the Shibuya Scramble. And I think like some kind of baseball game had just happened, and there was a huge group of fans just screaming and jumping up and down with like the flag of whatever baseball team they had. And of course, it was like the one night I didn't bring my camera with me, but it was just like so fun to watch all these people like so joyous, and this idea that that space is going to change constantly depending on what's going on in the city was really exciting. And it's also so interesting to think of it as like the epicenter of a mega metropolis like that. It's such a huge space, such a huge place, that city. On the flip side, really fun. I was there for a week, and then I went down south to the more rural area, Kumamoto, and I was there for a couple days as well, and it was really kind of nice to be like, okay, I've had like brain overload for about a week experiencing all of this, and now I get to go like chill out, in like farms and valleys and mountains and volcanoes and stuff for a while. It was good.
That's great to have that sort of juxtaposition too. Like I feel like a lot of people who go to Japan only stay within the larger cities, and having that sort of Kumamoto experience is good. It really like shows you sort of the real Japan outside of these sort of urban centers.
A place with like no tourists, was really fun to just kind of exist in for a while.
Now, had you prepared for the trip by like taking any Japanese classes, or
not really?
Were you relying on the English stuff, the English printing in the subway? Which, by the way, a great city to not know any Japanese in is Tokyo, because so many of the signs are also in English, thankfully. But the further you get out from the city, the less often that happens.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable how accommodating they are to English speakers. It was really nice. I hadn't prepped at all. My partner did, which was good. I think we had a little bit of a working knowledge. And when we were in Kumamoto, we were with a friend of mine who lives there, and her partner, both of whom are English teachers and have been in Japan for many years. Oh,
that's great.
Yeah, it was nice to just have some people who can speak like fluent and one Japanese, you just pick up on some things here and there. I find that whenever I go to a place where I don't speak the language, I end up just like picking up on like phrases and context clues and things like that, which is nice. So I think it was pretty easy to get like acclimated and be able to get around without feeling like too out of my depth. I didn't have I won't say that I had like the culture shock that I think a lot of people have experienced or have talked about experiencing when they go to Japan for the first time. I weirdly had it coming back because I was so used to already like bowing at people and saying thank you over and over again, like all this kind of stuff.
Right. And bathrooms being clean.
And bathrooms being clean, the subway being on time. Yeah, the first time I had to take the subway, we got back like Monday. It was technically like Monday morning, really, really, really early because our flight had been delayed a whole bunch. And I was like, I'm gonna get over the jet lag really quick by just going into the office today. Like I'm gonna sleep for like 6 hours if I can, wake up, go to the office, and literally like waking up, pouring outside and cold after being in the like 90-degree, 90% humidity Tokyo for as long as I was. And then like being like, okay, I'm gonna get on the New York City subway system, and having that train be like a couple minutes late, stopping on a bridge for a while, just like hanging out, stopping in a tunnel for a while, being like, oh man, I missed it already.
Yeah. So we're watching Austin play Shibuya Crossing.
It's a crazy stage. I am.
How accurate do you think this depiction is to the real?
Is this where you were?
Crossing?
Yeah. Fewer swords, thankfully.
Fewer overmined missile turrets shooting at the walker-bys, I suppose.
Yeah.
So cool.
Did you beat this stage, CJ? It's kind of there's a lot going on here.
I didn't finish this one. No, it's a tough one. You have to kind of place units on different parts of the map.
This is fun though, because I like these kind of stages. Obviously, they might not be for everyone out there, but there's a lot to parse out in a big stage like this, right? Like I'm trying to think through all the options, and I'm exploring around, poking for switches and stuff like that. For example, there's this dog switch I don't know how to get to.
Yeah, it's fun to have exploration be an aspect of these levels.
This one too does something interesting where there are pushable blocks on top of switches already, and by pushing them off, you turn off the switch.
Yeah,
which is something I don't feel. It's not in the story mode at all, and is something that a lot of people don't do.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, it changes like the pathing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it like turns those conveyor belts on, and suddenly.
Yeah, there's the Starbucks.
Yeah.
Which just like in the real Shibuya Crossing is people, spilling out of the windows with laser swords.
Yeah, I'm struggling here.
There's the Tower Records.
But I get hooked on these kind of stages because now I'm committed at this point, right? I need to figure it out.
This is so cool. Yeah. Yeah, I did the Into the Tower one, and then I started this one, and I had a call last night. We have a new D&D group we're putting together, and had to do some character creation, which is fun.
Nice.
Looking like I might need to come back to this one. Looks like I've.
Maybe
I admit
so.
defeat.
This one is a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a tough one, and for those watching, you can hop into Humanity user stages, and the community stream playlist has all the stages that we're gonna check out here.
Look, I think I need to utilize the Starbucks army a little more here, so I have to think about that. Okay.
Arm them with more than caffeine.
I'm curious from the community perspective. What's it like just going through all of the community created levels and playing all of them? Like how is that process going?
It's great.
Yeah,
I think Austin and I we had played all the story mode stages up until launch, and then when the game and the creator got in the hands of people who started making their own stages, that's when it really got exciting for us, because now there's all this new content to play too.
Yeah.
And people just have the craziest imaginations and have come up with mechanics that we definitely didn't think of, and I don't think the dev team had in mind either when making their stages. So it's just been an amazing trip to kind of see that evolve.
Yeah. Yeah, is there a sense of pride with that also? I'm sure there is, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I feel pride for the dev team, the tools that they made are being used in such creative ways, in ways that I'm sure they never thought of.
Yeah, there's the thing about the user generated content is that it's a pretty limited tool set, but how our creators have been so creative with it, and each creator has kind of a unique footprint on their how they approach a stage creator is really cool to see, and I love seeing creators' personality. So we have very active members in the community, right? And each have kind of their own flair and way they approach it, and they build off of each other. So yeah, I've loved the community aspect of it, and how for me and CJ, like he said, it was a new game for us when it launched. Like, this feels like a separate game almost from the story mode, just because of how the creators explore it, and it's more of like a UGC or user-generated content kind of feel, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
And there are people who are like remixing story mode stages as well, and like adding new twists, and it's really fun to like go through all of that stuff and pick out the best content. We do a lot of curating, so our community moderators, Austin and myself, like look through and kind of select stages for playlists that we think people will really like, so that it's not like Mario Maker where you pop in and you're not sure whether the thing you're going to play is going to be any fun.
Right.
We really kind of focus on that. We want you to have a good experience. If you're enjoying the puzzles in the story mode, we want you to have fun with the user generated content too.
Yeah. Oh, look at that Goldie all the way down there.
Oh, good eye. Yeah, I'm exploring now. I'm trying to. We call it a very common term, cheese. There's a lot of cheese in levels, and of course, I try to hunt for.
Are you
cheese.
trying to cheese this level?
I don't know. I don't know if it's possible, but
I think you might have found a cheese.
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe.
Maybe
I
not.
don't know if this will pick him up here. Kind of does.
Won't. Picked up a small group.
Some of them.
Does this work?
That's the other thing. Like, I think both the dev team and as we're seeing users generate stages, you don't think about cheeses or cheats.
Right.
And then you see somebody do a puzzle in a way you didn't think about before. It like makes you rethink how you constructed everything in the first place.
Yeah, some of our creator streams or our community streams have been really fun, especially around launch. We had more people testing out creator and stuff like that. And they come into our stream, and then like they build this elaborate like time traveling, crazy stage, and then there's just something they didn't take note of, some easy cheese, and they're like, okay, I need to re-upload this stage.
That's playtesting, baby.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Everything changes in playtesting.
Yeah, we found people using the retry keep commands function as a mechanic in their stage, so they actually have to use that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Complete it, which was just like mind-blowing moment. It's like, okay,
what a cool idea.
Yeah, because there's like areas in a stage you can only get to. It's hard to explain, right? Because like a little bit of stage inception, because you have to retry the stage with commands you already have placed, right?
Right.
And it like creates different pathways. So that was super cool. I would call it time traveling.
I know, I barely do either. I've been playing this game for like over 2 years, and yeah, some of those time travel stages still get me. Like, we spent an entire stream on a time travel stage where we were just trying to figure out what the heck we were supposed to be doing.
Welcome into Aiken from our YouTube regular.
There you go. What should we do next?
Yeah, any suggestions, CJ or Brendon?
Did you do the tower already? Did I miss that?
Oh, no, we can check that out.
We did not do
I'm
the
going into it
tower.
fresh.
I really like this one. This was great. There's just a grandiosity to this level that I really appreciate.
There
The sense of scale when you're swinging around in the beginning, and then you see how small the dog is in comparison to the tower. It's really well done.
Also, a really interesting sense of presentation here, because this initial dog switch and elevator that you go up, what's the point of, like, it's not a puzzle. It's just like sort of this pomp and circumstance around the idea of getting you to the puzzle.
To the tower, yeah. Very cool.
I love that.
Died more times than I would like to admit, just trying to make that jump.
That's a tricky jump, yeah. I was afraid I was about to lose it again.
Initially, I thought you had to make that first jump. So you press that switch, and then you have to make the next jump. Because I was like, oh no.
You thought it wasn't going to come back?
I thought it wasn't going to come back, or like then people would be spilling all over the place. And if there, I don't think there are any goldies in this stage, but if there were, then I wouldn't be able to get them.
There are two, yeah.
Oh wait, yeah, there are two. You're right.
I like this bridge animation here.
Yeah, this bridge is so cool.
There's been some really cool animations that creators have come up with, just in general, for opening doors and like Gundams and stuff like that.
There's one in this list called TikTok that we'll do maybe after this that has some interesting animation work.
Oh, I'm excited.
There's a lot going on here. Or
My
definitely has
first
some scale.
thought with this one was trying to just fill the bottom section with people. I didn't think that I would be able to like place turns and branches to get the people to fill into those squares. So I thought I needed to just literally fill that bottom pit with as many people as possible. To, like,
Now you're thinking. That's the cheese mentality there.
Yeah.
That is the cheese mentality, completely.
But yeah, and then this is so good.
Or even is okay. Yeah, I gotta explore a little bit here.
Yeah, the
You got these
people
platforms.
are at the top of these towers here.
Yeah. And then your Goldie, there's one of them.
Oh, hello. He looks cozy in there. I kind of feel bad.
You're rescuing the Goldie.
Yeah.
I also like the use of float here. It's like a fountain of people coming out of those towers.
Yeah. It is weirdly like calming. It's like having a flying dream.
I really
Remember
like this
Flying
layout.
Dream? I feel like the idea of a flying dream is one that people always allude to, but how often are you actually having one? And I remember having one once when I was in high school, and I just feel like I haven't been the same since. And I've never had one again.
A flying dream. So
A flying dream.
You know, you're just
simply flying in your dream?
soaring through the air.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not
that's it.
falling.
No,
um,
just soaring
had
around
falling
in the clouds.
I feel like I can remember one in particular because I feel like it was more. I feel like those kind of dreams tend to be a little more lucid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember I realized I was in my dream, and then I'm like, okay, let's give this flying a go. And I'm like, oh wait, I'm still in my dream. Usually that's when you wake up because you're like,
Yeah. Right.
because naturally if you're having a good dream, you're going to be waking up. So,
Yeah.
but
Of course, that's how they happen. Sadly.
Oh,
yeah,
this
you
is
got
an
it.
interesting. You got the branch commands right there, huh?
yeah.
Okay, okay.
Not really sure where I'm going with this, but we're experimenting. I love the pathways here on the top. Seems like there's a lot of options.
Yeah, there's so many
True.
ways of doing this. I think you've got the right idea though. You're going about it a different way than I did. Because I think what you have going on here is you've kind of
Oh wait,
taken all
Yeah.
of the fountain groups.
Yeah.
And kind of
kind of
combined
merged them
into
together.
one. Yeah, I think that was the right idea.
So you
'Cause
have
I
some
had an issue
stragglers.
towards the end where I couldn't get enough people on the squares to actually trigger the like end of stage.
Okay.
Is there a limit to how many people can be on screen at one time, by the way? Are you allowed to say that?
Is it 5,000? Right.
5,000.
Yeah.
5,000? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was hitting that limit when I was playing this stage yesterday.
Yeah. Some of the stages you'll notice it because less humans will be coming out of the gate, right?
Up the spawn, right?
Yeah.
But as humans get like pushed up against the wall there, they end up perishing.
Ah, right.
So that flow doesn't stop completely.
Let's go do this.
Yeah. There you go.
Get our stragglers out of here.
There's always stragglers.
Bingo.
This is a cool stage.
Yeah.
It's a very cool stage, yeah.
Kind of mirrored on this side as well. It looks like.
Yeah, you just gotta do it again on the other side. I think the thing that really stuck with me about this one is it just feels like one that could have been in story mode. Like it has a kind of artistry about it. It has this kind of like this almost like meditative quality to it, you know, especially
Right.
having done one half and then needing to go and do the other half is like, oh, okay, you know, the you have your moment of like, oh, I've solved the puzzle, and now you get to prove how well you solved it by doing it a second time. I think it's just like a really positive player feedback.
Yeah, I was going to mention this kind of as the end of this stage because I don't think the platform puzzling here is too difficult, but it's still fulfilling to go around here and like collect these massive hordes of humans.
For sure. And great just to get that massive group of people in each tower.
Yeah.
Going to the goal.
Looks like we already have a pretty big group in that one tower there.
It says what, 8 goals here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess I didn't need to do the branch here, did I? I could have just had them turn. But I like the chaos here with these double branches.
Yeah.
We did Shibuya Crossing, now we're in the subway.
I like the use of this interior space too. I think that's another thing that we don't get too much of in user stages is like an interior.
Yeah.
A lot of the stages are open air. In story mode too, there are a lot of open air. You don't have a lot of like enclosed spaces.
Yeah, this like wireframe view when you're looking from outside technically was a little bit of a jump scare for me. I was like, oh god, I forgot that was in the game at all. Like it's so interesting visually.
The res view.
The res view.
Totally. Wow. I think you're running into the problem that I had.
There's a lot of like closed people like trying indoor stages and stuff like that, where you oftentimes will run into this wireframe view. I think someone tried to make a whole stage where it's like called X-ray or something like that, and you're just trying to.
You had to play that way.
Yeah.
You had to play through the stage in that view. There was no other way to play.
What a cool idea. Yeah, it must be so fun to just see all the ways people are expressing themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Level creator.
How people just try to make the most, or turn this into other games, right? So we have like, we had a Shiba Game Fest playlist as well that has like arcade style games. So we've done a Tetris playlist where people try to make Tetris and humanity.
And they do it successfully too.
Yeah.
They actually made Tetris successfully, or like Legend of Zelda, somebody made a top-down sort of dungeon crawl level that it worked. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, those were some of my favorite stages, and how people came up with like trying to create like logical flows where they can, do if and else, like programming kind of things within humanity, like by creating looping humans, etc., stuff like that. It's cool to see.
Oh wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Where am I missing? Let's see. Oh.
Yeah. So this is the problem I ran into. I had a hard time getting the stage to finally.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Looks like we have a bigger flow. Oh, they're getting tripped up on this branch, aren't they?
You have like a double branch going there. Yeah, you probably don't need a double branch.
You might get lucky. Oh no. Yeah, let's clean this up a little bit.
Because it's got to be all 8 of them simultaneously, like all at once, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So making sure that this is sustained. Step 1. This
seems
exactly
easier.
I was just sitting here and like, why can't I get all 4 of these to glow?
It looks like we need a bigger feed on this side.
Yeah, this is my thought. Is if you go back up to the top and merge both of the streams of people into just one group. So instead of having like 2 groups of people spilling down, feed both of those into one. Yeah. Then you'll, I think, have enough people.
I'm almost there, I think. Oh,
and you have 2 groups that are facing the wall right now. You like make
right, so we can use them as like a, what do I call it? Like we can overflow. Yeah. Try that. Maybe we'll get the magic number. Oh. Oh my goodness. Oh, this probably is like an issue with kind of how I was approaching it. Kind of like what you were saying, where I was putting all of them into this one group, right? So maybe I need to break this group up a little bit. What would be the best way to do that?
I haven't tried a rough admission. I haven't tried the level creator yet, but do you have like a Mario Maker-esque thing where you have to finish the stage?
Yes, yeah, you do have to complete it.
It has to be completable.
That's good.
How are you looking on the other side?
Although there are a lot of stages where we tried them ourselves and it's like, how
did they do that?
Do you complete this one?
That's also what happened in Mario Maker.
Well, yeah, that is true.
It's getting a little scrappy down here.
This is getting real scrappy.
This is so fun.
I'm enjoying it, I will admit. There's something satisfying about trying to get, like, navigate these flows here, but it's getting a little scrappy with all my commands. And there's probably a more elegant way to be doing this, but let's see.
Well, yeah, now there's one exit there that's not isn't getting anyone.
Let's try. Let's do this, maybe. Is that enough flow?
Ooh.
As long as I see four greens at once.
The other side might not be.
Okay.
The other side is not.
Oh, right here.
No, the other tower.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It looked like you were able to get 4 greens now.
Yeah.
There, but are you able to get 4?
So same thing here. It looks like we have a larger feed on this side.
You can do it, Austin.
Yeah, we got this. I think this is good.
Oh,
we got it.
There we go.
Oh, baby. Good job.
Welcome in, Sideark. Sideark has never played Humanity. We have a free demo on Steam, and also available on PS Plus.
Yeah, if you have extra or premium PS Plus, you can download Humanity and play it for free.
You should do it, Sideark.
Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah.
But you should definitely do it.
Well, I think we should, if you haven't seen Stage Creator, we can maybe show that off a little bit and have some fun with it.
Oh, do you want? We should hop into TikTok.
I do want
sure.
TikTok
Okay.
Stage. Real quick. This will be a quick one. It's sort of an autoplay, which is fun.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But it's a precision autoplay, I would say.
So, we have our clock here.
Oh.
So you have the clock there, yeah, with
Oh, that's so cool.
Oh, this is unreal.
going.
What else is
Please
connected
push those
to?
far.
So we have some people switches over here.
Yeah.
That's when we stop it. So that thing stops moving. Okay.
That stops the clock.
Incredible.
Oh. I heard a lot of noises, so I hit stop. Yeah, I'm looking for some clues right now on what exactly needs to be done.
Let's see. Well, just continuing to move the clock around. Is that
Uh-oh.
what's filling in the... Oh, no, it's not.
So we need to create this bridge somehow. I like how CJ's quiet as he probably watches, see what we're doing.
Right. I already know the solution.
As we
I'm gonna let
embarrass
you do it.
ourselves. Yeah. That is one thing about playing this on stream. Sometimes I'm like, I'm probably not seeing something and it can be slightly embarrassing, but
Yeah, when you told me that I wasn't the one that needed to be playing on stream, I was like, oh, thank God.
And that's the thing, like,
Yeah.
I played a lot of Humanity, but there's always something new in stage creation or like user stages that you don't really account for. Like,
Totally.
I
Always.
have no idea what I'm doing on this stage, but it's part of the fun.
Yeah, this stage, the 2 hands of the clock are, I believe, like building that bridge, and you have to stop them when the bridge is completely built.
Okay.
So you've already got... Oh.
Like, there's a very short time window when both bridges are built, and you have to stop when that's the case.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Is there a specific time that they're trying to give us here, I wonder?
I'm not sure about that one.
We're just about there.
Almost. You got one side. Good.
Oh, I thought that was going to be it. Yes.
Is that it? Okay.
I think that's it.
What time is this?
I don't know, which way is 12?
Yeah.
Sideark in the chat saying, "What on earth is going on?" I wouldn't even know where to start.
Right.
Yeah.
I do not blame you. If you get humanity, maybe don't start with TikTok. But
Yeah. They say, that's a lot of people falling to their deaths. Yes, but they get reincarnated and turned into light, and they walk through the door again.
Yeah.
Nobody is actually dying. There's no death in humanity. It's important to remember that.
That's how it works in real life.
yes,
That's right. Okay, are we gonna hop into the stage creator?
Yeah, let's
Sure.
do it. Maybe we can just play around and see what. I like to kind of just throw myself at it sometimes and see what happens. But yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right. Well, we have a
See
a
some starting
rectangle
blocks
and a
here.
dog.
The palette
Yeah.
from a lot, just about everything from the story mode is available in the stage creator, with the exception being, I guess, the giant others. That's only in like a few stages, and then the warps are currently not available, unfortunately. But everything else is available
Currently.
in the stage creator. And with that being said, even though I brought up earlier that it's like a fairly limited tool set with what you can do, but you've already seen like people get pretty creative and
Totally.
come up with like cool logic ideas to create different tools within these tools. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun to see.
So, what's in the player command section?
Player commands. So yeah,
these, okay,
what you
yeah.
start with, and then you could also
okay, yes.
have the commands that people have to pick up. So people have made like Metroidvania kind of levels where you have to go through puzzles, and then you unlock like a new command, right? And then you can use that command to backtrack and like navigate other parts of the levels, right? And then you also
that
can
rocks.
command your others, so you can create paths for the others and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then in switches, is that how you would? Yeah, the start and stop switch. Yeah, if you wanted to.
Yeah.
those levels,
Maybe we
that's
can do a
pretty
start
cool.
switch, considering that was one of your
do it.
favorite sequences. So
Yeah.
we'll just smack it in
Let's do
here, and then we
that.
can maybe move it later. But
Yeah. Is there like a particular mechanic that you like other than the start switch? Do you like pushable blocks? Do you like the water? Yeah. Is there any levels?
Gotta keep it nautical. I think water's always fun.
okay,
Okay.
water. And there are some really
Some
creative
water in
things
there.
people have done with water blocks, like create like wave pool kind of things, and like cool water platforming levels. Also, if you
How are they
use,
creating wave pools?
well, it might be easier if I brought up one of those levels, because I don't know if I could do it justice. But like how the motorized blocks kind of move, right? You
Yeah.
can use motorized blocks to push through the water in a way,
Oh,
which
cool.
was never in the story mode, right?
Like moving water blocks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's very cool. Honestly, if you just want to show off some more cool community stuff, like go for it. You're touching on so many interesting things. Like I'm curious now. We can do one.
We should show them the Mario Kart level, maybe.
Okay,
I would love to see a Mario Kart level.
we'll make a quick, really quick start stage, very quick, just to show how the completion
Sure.
check and stuff like that, how that might work.
Yeah, and also how quick you can make a stage.
Yeah.
Obviously, Austin is very knowledgeable in the tool set,
Yeah.
but actually you can make a stage pretty quickly in the creator. I think that's part of humanity just being blocks and switches, and there's not too much detail available to you, so you can make a pretty competent puzzle level
Mhm.
pretty quickly.
How much does knowing that you're going to create a stage creator affect the design of the game in the process of making it?
Well, actually, like this is based on the tools that our developers were using to make the stages themselves. So they basically just made it a little more user friendly and put it in the game. Yeah, initially this wasn't planned to be in the game, but we were using it internally anyway, and we thought, well, we could flesh it out and make this a feature, and see what people's creativity can come up with. So.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That rocks. Yeah, I'm always curious what comes first in that case. What do we got? We got some water.
Yeah, put in some glass.
walls.
Glass
I'll make it.
walls.
It looks kind of cool. My favorite part of stage creator is just making it look cool, right? So,
Aesthetics.
yeah,
Yeah.
puzzle first, and then I typically I like to make the puzzle first, and then I'll just with whatever extra data space I have, I try to go hard with like how it looks. But
yeah. Or like add trees or boulders, or now we have the machines in there, so you can add lasers to your stages. Like, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do. You can make a really simple puzzle and then like just play with adding extra
look
stuff.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bump up the aesthetic value of it. Yeah.
Are there some creators that really focus on that sort of animation part of it, and will really like dig deep into that and make crazy like kaiju battles in humanity, like more action-based stages? But yeah, super interesting.
So the flow density of people. Oh, this is great. Wow, there's so much granular control over this stuff, over the like wind state. I love that.
Yeah. And you can place Goldie in the stage too, which a lot of people forget, myself included. I will design a puzzle and forget to add a Goldie. That happens so often. Yeah.
Someone does want me to place.
I still have not unlocked all the Goldies in story mode. It's my big before the year is over quest for myself. Is to
That's a good one.
Oh,
yeah,
that is a good one.
I see. Whoops. Sorry, I'm kind of speed running this, but
this is an accurate representation of how the world was created.
Yes.
Yes, this is exactly. This is in the biblical sense. How
That's
the world
right.
Was created.
Everyone creating their own little microcosm.
Yeah.
We'll add some puddles to add to the reflections.
There we go.
Maybe we can add
make it look nice.
A tree somewhere.
Spider-Man adjacent.
Yeah.
There you go.
Let's see. Let's have some decorative blocks.
Yeah, a couple things that weren't in the initial story mode, like pushable blocks and water wasn't like a thing that was combined in the story mode. But in user stages now we have a lot of people who are playing with that idea, like pushing blocks through water. Kind of cool.
Yeah. Are there any kind of different physics that happen when you're pushing a block through water versus if you were just pushing it normally?
No, but you can't redirect the people. You can't place commands in water.
In the
so
water.
They can only be going one direction.
Well, this is looking very pretty, Austin.
Thank you.
I keep thinking about. Have either of you read, Frank Lance? Have you read his new book?
I have not. No.
Frank Lance, great game designer and I think professor at NYU Game Center. Made what's the one I always think about? Universal Paperclips. Is it's a great Frank Lance game, and Hey Robot. But anyway, just released a book called The Beauty of Games, that's specifically about trying to remove the word art from the way we talk about video games and instead replacing it with the word aesthetic. And I can't stop thinking about it. I've been reading it every day in the amount of work.
Interesting.
And I keep thinking about the word aesthetic. It's like really lodged in there. But would recommend that book. It's very good. It's short, which is always nice.
Nice. Austin picking the theme.
Yeah.
And the music.
I also can spend a little too much time here.
No, I get it.
Intersect's a good track.
I spend so much time playing this game just leaving it on in the background and just letting music play out.
Also, we can choose the model of human. So I thought this looked like a giant bug, and if that's the thing. So if I like throw myself at it, I'm like, oh, this looks like a bug that's just like, I don't know, really high in the sky, and I could always play into that and make it look more bug-like or something like that. But
you ever see the Dark Crystal, the beasts that they ride on occasionally, which is just like puppeteers on stilts?
Oh, okay.
Wheeled stilts, but
yeah, maybe some kind of Studio Ghibli kind of creature here.
Studio Ghibli
creature.
Oh, definitely.
Bug in the sky. So here we go.
Here we go.
And then we had 3 branch commands, short and simple.
That's all you need.
Bam.
Just like that. This should be it.
You made a bug in the sky.
Yeah, and like you can make a stage. It doesn't need to be hard. You can have more fun with just creating something that looks cool, right? Then you can add like a little puzzle after the fact, even.
Yeah.
Of course, I personally like to make the puzzle first and design after, but a lot of people do it the other way around, right? They'll just create like if they want to make a cat level or something, and then they'll add a puzzle to it.
Yeah, I feel like I would probably be a puzzle first person if I was to jump into it. If I was to guess.
I guess I have done it both ways. There was another one I made, like I wanted to make a desert like oasis stage, and then I built a puzzle around that. Yeah.
I usually have no idea what kind of puzzle I'm going to make when I hop into Stage Creator. I just kind of like play around with placing blocks, and then the puzzle just kind of emerges. It's sort of a beautiful moment. It's almost like a game in and of itself, where you have that aha puzzle solution moment, but you created the puzzle.
That's the best. That's the best feeling in the world. I do a lot of photography around New York, and there's so many times where I just like take a photo and then find out the photo was good after, and for not even the reason I took it in the first place.
There you go.
It's like, oh, I took a picture of this person or this thing, and it turns out there's something happening in the background that makes it good. I didn't even notice.
So Bug in the Sky is now live. If anyone wants to play this crazy puzzle stage, yeah,
play it right now.
And you get some XP from that, which helps with the endorphins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What were the stages we wanted to
claim something more in?
Yeah, what was the Mario Kart one?
Oh, that's right.
Mario Kart. Is that? I think that might be in the Daily 5.
Oh, is it?
Today? Yeah, it's the first stage in there.
Super Conga Line Kart. It's a classic.
It is a classic. This was another one where both Austin and I were just dumbfounded that somebody had made this thing. I made like a Mario Kart track. And the little start segment here, that when you put the humans on the Switch, it does the countdown from 3.
Oh, wow.
Right there, and then like drops those blocks like go.
What an incredible idea this is.
And then like you'll see at the end there's like different achievements you can get, so there's replayability to the stage.
Yeah. So you're like racing the others. The others are behind you.
And do you have to get the Goldie to win? Is that the idea?
Let's see.
No, this one, it's I think a certain number of people have to be with you at the end. So you're using the follow command and you're picking up people as you go. And that's sort of, you have to beat the others to the end, and then you also have to have a certain number of people.
Uh-oh. Cut some humans off there.
Just got cut off there.
Oh, man.
So yeah, there's like different routes you can take, right? So I can see like I can go left or right, try to get the humans here. Hopefully I don't get run over. Oh my goodness.
Oh, still lost some.
And now we're at the end. But as you see, there's different number goals, right? So if you have 100, you can get the extra goldies.
Yes.
And the Switch will cut off the others. So we won the race, but did we really win? Because we didn't get all the goldies, right? So no goldies for us, actually. Only had 62 due to the boulder incident.
That's how they get you. It's always
Psydark asking, are the humans okay with this?
Good question, and that's up to you, I suppose.
That's a topic for the whole game. That's one of the messages. Are the humans okay with all of this?
Yeah, you got to play story mode, Psydark. It's worth it.
I'll give it one more go here.
You'll walk away a changed person.
I want to get the 100.
You're gonna do it again?
Yeah.
Do a speed run.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, this creator has done like a lot of really fun genre bending stages where they've created like different ways to play that we were not expecting. So this is like a race, and they also did one that's like a snake level where you actually like progressively get more and more people to follow you, and then you're able to press people switches better and better and unlock more of the stage, and it's like this really crazy.
Yeah, that snake stage is super awesome. I'd love to see more stages like that. So we also do like creator workshops from time to time, where we try to like push a specific idea or genre. What was the one recently that we were thinking about doing? Ascend. So the go up level that that guy created was super cool.
Yeah, somebody made Only Up. I don't know
Only
if you're
Up, that's
familiar
right.
with Only
Yes.
Up on Steam. Very popular game that the creator of that game pulled it down off Steam. And
Did they really?
then
I didn't hear about that.
I think they did. Yeah, they did because they couldn't. They were not into the pressure of having a hit game. It was too much for them. But somebody then made Only Up in Humanity, and that was a really fun stage. And then they followed it up with an even tougher Only Up stage.
Which I haven't tried yet. Maybe we can open that one up if we have time.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna try that. Oh, wow. I think you got it. I
right.
definitely believe in you this time.
I'm going this somewhat
You can do
safer
it, you
route.
can do it.
I think I got it this time.
Yeah.
Slightly safer.
Oh no! I took a risk. I took a risk. I think I could have stopped there. I think I would have been fine, but you know,
Oh man.
there's no stopping in a race stage. I don't know if you played any F-Zero recently, but
Oh
you can
yeah.
never you're never allowed to stop and take the break, and then you're
can't
gonna
put F-Zero 99 down.
yeah.
That
It's
game
one of my
is-
favorite games right now.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Um,
What an incredible idea that game is.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I will not make you watch me do another go here after that suffering. But,
Okay. If there's
Yeah, maybe
a-
we can pick out one more stage to
Sure.
to finish up on. What do you think?
I mean, well, we could just poke around some of these stages. Maybe the Only Up stage
could.
that we brought up would be fun.
Yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
interested in seeing that.
Do you want to do the extreme version of Only Up, or because the Only Up version is in stages we love?
Which one's the hard? Oh, extreme.
Extreme. Yeah,
we
they even
we can
wrote,
start it. And maybe we'll come back to it later. But
They even wrote the word extreme to the side, which I love that little detail.
and it is a start switch, so okay, we need 10,
Oh,
100.
It's a yeah. The other one is also a start switch level.
So the idea is, like Only Up, you kind of have to like map out the pathing. See, there's so many blocks that's not like obvious, but
Yeah.
yeah, set some jumps and stuff like that. So we'll start all the way down here.
Is this again where the start switch is all the way at the top, or
Yes, so we are going to have to climb. And there's that, like, once you get towards the top, there's a slight platforming anxiety because it's like, oh, I don't have to climb this all the way over again. But
yeah?
This is brilliant.
And you have to figure out, where's the on ramp
right.
for this?
Usually the on-ramp's the tricky part.
Yeah,
We have float. Did we have float in the last one?
we didn't have float, in the
Which
last
makes
one.
it even trickier because that
I
means
was gonna
there's
say,
probably
having high jump, long jump, and float in here,
Yeah.
and needing to map that out.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, okay, high jump is this many spaces, long jump is
Yeah.
this many spaces. But as soon as you're halfway up this, amalgam
mapping
of
up
blocks-
float and like high long jumps is a little trickier and something I haven't really mastered.
Very
either.
tricky. Yeah.
Where do we even start with this? This is definitely extreme.
I love how much we're going into res mode also.
Oh, you're right. I can't start it. So, oh, that's tricky. I guess I could just.
You can't even experiment to see if
I
that's
could
the right
retry key
place.
command, I guess.
You could do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Extreme is right.
As advertised.
We're going to need the
That's
Zen to
right.
get through this one.
Yeah.
I was thinking we can go here, but
Also, how long does it take somebody to make a level like this and like test it too?
right.
Not only the fact that it's created and it's here and it's fun to play, but it's like somebody made this. And it
You know what?
took them
I wonder if
hours
creating it
to
would
make.
be easier because they probably just threw in a bunch of blocks afterwards, right? And for us, it's like, where do we even begin? But they may have just
yeah.
had one path to start, right?
That's true. Yeah, but then you have to check to make sure there's no cheese in
Oh,
there.
yeah.
If you just randomly.
Yeah, you accidentally added an easier path.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I don't even know where to start. Because the thing about jumping on these solo blocks is that you can't, like, it's a start switch stage, so we can't swap it out for a turn or anything like that.
That's
Right.
right.
So it's going to be
It can
like a
only be
fairly linear
one thing.
path. Yeah. Let's see if we can at least get started. I won't keep you here too long.
This is a tough one.
Yeah. I feel like we have to probably use float. We could use a free look camera to maybe look around a bit. Any
I feel
ideas?
like you had accidentally stumbled into the right path earlier.
You know what? You might be right. I think we need to.
Climbing up.
This 3 block here is looking enticing.
Right.
Can I make that jump? I don't think I can make
any spot that looks like you'd be able to put a turn.
Yeah, I think looking for 2 blocks would be helpful, right? Or 2 or 3.
Yeah. There's not much of that.
There's not. Shoot. Yeah, how do we get up to this 3? One way to do it, I guess, would be to backtrack somewhat. This is a tough stage, isn't it?
This one's gonna take a long time.
Very tough.
All right, we're just gonna do a little science here. Let's see if we can get up to that. So retry keep commands should take us to the top. Oh my god!
Oh.
No one saw
Only
that.
down, more like.
Yeah.
So far up too. All right, how high are we gonna jump here?
The gold skin.
Well, didn't get anywhere, but
Nope.
you know what? If you're up for a challenge, want to kick back on the couch, check out Only Up Extreme. There is a more vanilla one that me and CJ were able to wrap our heads around. This one looks like I need to spend a little more time on it.
I am definitely gonna try this one.
Yeah, maybe we can have an internal race here between the 3 of us.
Yeah, this will be like a pour a glass of wine
Yeah.
and spend the entire night doing it,
That's right.
working it out, untangling the Christmas lights situation.
Well, as we're at the end of the stream here, I want to make sure that we give you some time, Brendon, to promote Into the Aether and all the other stuff that you do. So please go ahead, tell people where they can find you and find your content.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. First of all, this has been so nice. This has been an equally low-key stream, which I appreciate. Into the Aether is at intothecast.online, and I'm online everywhere at Brendon Bigley. I would say follow me on Threads probably first, and then everywhere else. And similarly, Into the Cast is it's our spot everywhere else. Humanity, great video game. You should play it.
Well,
I'm gonna
thank
plug
you.
your game. I think you should check it out. And thank you both for listening to the show. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure I speak for Steven when I say that, and AJ as well.
Yeah, we both love video
Yeah.
games. I always anything game related, I can listen to it. But yeah,
Especially positive stuff
Yeah,
on
yeah.
games. I feel like there's so little of that, and any sort of podcast that talks about games in a positive manner, as you were saying, like going over the news, like that can be so negative so often, and I appreciate any sort of content with a positive spin. So thank you for creating the content that you do.
Of course. Great.
yeah, and
Thanks again.
I dropped a
Thank
link
you for
in
joining
the,
us.
in the Twitch chat if you want any links to the Brendon Bigley family there. Check out that URL. BrendonBigley.com. Does that have links to everything you're doing?
It sure
currently?
does. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This links to everything.
Cool.
Yep. And before we go, we stream usually every Wednesday at various times. Keep an eye on our Twitter account or social accounts and find out when we're on Tuesday. So stay tuned and we'll let you know when we're going to be doing that. But thank you very much for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you then.